G'day everyone, my name is Jim Thomas. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the Tenkile Conservation Alliance in Papua New Guinea.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari.
Hi, hello, how are you? Welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. Y'all, I am so ridiculously excited to be bringing you this episode. So y'all know that I am beyond in love with tree kangaroos. They are one of my absolute favorite animals, and I just love them. And I volunteer for the AZA's Safe Tree Kangaroo program now. And, we talk a lot about the various Matschie's tree kangaroos that call U.S. zoos home. And we talk about the Goodfellows and Lumholtz that are calling zoos in Australia home now. And it's always a great time. But, this is a species that is incredibly endangered. And there are lots of different species of tree kangaroos. There are 14 different species, and we don't really get to talk about a lot of the other ones. But today we are going to, because I am bringing you an interview with Jim Thomas of the Tenkile Conservation Alliance. And this is an organization that is dedicated to saving tree kangaroos in Papua New Guinea. And as you can imagine, I was losing my mind this entire interview. I learned so much about the conservation work being done in Papua New Guinea, what life is like in Papua New Guinea. We talk about 3 species of tree kangaroos that we've never really talked about on the pod before. And there's just so much. I learned so much. Jim knows so much. It's so great. I need to stop saying so much and just, get on with it. Y'all are going to love this one. Before we get to it real quick, friendly reminder to make sure that you're following along on the socials at Rossifari, on TikTok at Rossifari Pod, and of course that you hit subscribe so you don't miss any episodes, all the good things. Don't forget that you can support the podcast for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. So with all of the housekeeping out of the way, let's head out to Papua New Guinea and talk to a person who is already reaching hero status with me, Jim Thomas of the Tenkile Conservation Alliance.
I run a big NGO that protects the Torricelli mountain range, and we work with 43 villages, about 14,000 people all up, and each of those villages either have the Tenkile tree kangaroo on their land or the Waimang tree kangaroo on their land, and all of them have the grizzled tree kangaroo on their land. So we're tree kangaroo focused, but we're rainforest protecting.
That is so amazing. And I am obsessed with tree kangaroos. They are one of my favorite species. They are they're one of the 4 animals on my logo. I have a tattoo. I mean, I'm obsessed. I even got the plush Tenkile tree kangaroo from your organization. Had to support a little bit and of course get another stuffed tree kangaroo. So all of my listeners and all of my social media followers are becoming obsessed with tree kangaroos because of that. But because we are in the United States, we mostly deal with Matschie's tree kangaroos. And then because I have some friends in Australia who have contributed some stuff, we've also talked about some Goodfellows and even a couple of Lumholtz now. But I don't know that a lot of people even know that there are these other species and how different they are. So if we could start off with you just kind of describing the 3 species you just talked about and how different they are, and especially the Tenkile is just stunning.
Yes, sure thing. So there are considered to be 14 species of tree kangaroos. There are 2 in the tropical rainforests of Australia, so up the north of Australia, and 12 species in New Guinea. 8 are in Papua New Guinea. And yeah, we work with 3 species here in the Torricellis, which to my knowledge is the only place where 3 species coexist. So the grizzled tree kangaroo is, I think, one of the most ancestral tree kangaroos. So it looks similar to a Lumholtz tree kangaroo in Australia. So its tail is much longer than its body. So then we have the Waimang tree kangaroo, which is a shorter and I guess maybe a cuter version of the Goodfellows.
Okay.
It looks very similar to a Goodfellows tree kangaroo, but its head is all golden white sort of, and its shoulders, of course, golden mantled tree kangaroo is its English name, but it's known as the Waimang tree kangaroo by the people up here. So we call it the Waimang. And I think the Waimang is the smallest of all of the tree kangaroos. The grizzled, as I've just mentioned, is the largest of all the tree kangaroos. So we've got the smallest and we've got the biggest, and the Tenkile is in the middle somewhere. And the Tenkile is unique because it's just found here in the Torricellis. It's brown black with a yellow patch at the base of its tail and some yellow flecks on its tail, and it's a very elusive animal. The Tenkile and the Waimang are both critically endangered, as categorised by the IUCN. So they're only in the hundreds, unfortunately. But we're doing our best to change that. And since we've been here, we've been working with the people, and they've been not hunting. They've agreed not to hunt by signing a moratorium. And in the 22 years we've been there, we believe that the Tenkile has grown from over about 100 when we first started to well over 300. People are seeing them quite regularly. Whenever we put camera traps out, we always capture images of them. So they're increasing in numbers and in distribution, so much so that we'll be inviting a further 6 villages to come into the program soon, because they now have them on their land, which they never did previously. So that's really exciting. And one of the reasons I've come back to PNG is that, hey, it's working more, and now we've got to help some more villages that have these special creatures on their land.
That's really amazing. So what is your story? Why tree kangaroos and why conservation, and you know, what brought you to this, creating this NGO and getting everything running here?
Yeah, good question. So it goes back a while. So I used to work at Melbourne Zoo. I was a zookeeper, and I used to look after all different animals. And in 1996, the Goodfellows tree kangaroos that we had at Melbourne Zoo bred. And it was really exciting. So I think that is where my interest started, and I started looking at them in books. And Tim Flannery's book had just come out in 96, and I went on a field trip to Far North Queensland to look for Lumholtz and Bennett's tree kangaroos, and got to be friends with Roger Martin, who's still a close mate of mine, and he's pretty much obsessed with tree kangaroos. So I think I caught his disease, if you like, and I really got into wanting to come here once their book came out, because when I flipped through that book, the Tenkile and the Waimang got the smallest distributions and are in the most trouble. And I just thought, right, I want to go there and help save these guys. I'd been doing conservation in Australia for a long time, and I guess I'd got fairly fed up with the cycle. You know, it wasn't really addressing conservation as much as I liked. I always wanted to sink my teeth in and achieve something. And I thought, well, if I pack it all in and go to Papua New Guinea, well, I've got a good chance of doing that. And hey, we were right. My wife and I took a big risk in leaving our comfortable home in Melbourne, Australia, and moved to a bush house. And we've since had malaria a lot of times. But,
oh no!
And I've got a good poop story.
Poop story
For the end of the interview. I did read the email. I've got a couple of good ones, but I think I'll have a few people falling over in laughter. I still laugh and think about it. But anyway, that'll come later. And yeah, we've been able to make it work. I think if you're really determined and are able to work well with people, you know, there's a way forward for conservation. So yeah, that's where I started, was the wanting to do more and having an interest in tree kangaroos. And of course, going to Papua New Guinea, it's like nobody really I'd known had spent much time there. You know, a few of my relatives had some war stories from World War II, but that was pretty much it. So it was, you know, a frontier I wanted to get to, you know, go somewhere where no one else had been before.
That's really, really cool and really inspirational. So I'm so curious about so many things, so many aspects of what you do. But I think one of the things that was a hard lesson for me to learn when I got into the conservation world was that you have to deal with people and that it's all about the stakeholders. And I remember very early on, Red Panda Network did a thing where they were helping get new stoves into people's houses. And I was, when I say very early on, I mean in like my connection with all of this world. And I was so confused, and I was like, who gives a crap about stoves in people's houses? We need to be putting money towards, saving red pandas and not, and I didn't phrase it that meanly, but I did look into it. And that is what I learned so much about how, you have to make people in the local area connect. And I feel like that's got to be so challenging sometimes. So how are you able to do that? And what strategies do you use?
Well, you're right, John, because when we first got here, we thought we'd be radio tracking tree kangaroos and in the mountains. But as soon as we got here, we realised, wow, there's a lot of people here and they're pretty hungry. People have got extended bellies. There's protein deficiencies. Lots of people are coughing and spluttering. Wow, if we don't help the people, how are we going to, on earth are we going to help these tree kangaroos? People have got nothing else to eat. And so when they get a tree kangaroo, that's a big meal for, half a village, really. Because, Tenkile can get up to 16 kilos in weight. And that's when I think the penny dropped for us. It's like, well, in order to save these animals, we've got to help the people. And what we've realised is the more you actually do in situ real conservation, the less you deal with animals and the more you deal with people. And so we had to grasp that. So unfortunately, although hopefully I'm getting a little bit more into it, it's only about 5% of my time is actually working with tree kangaroos. The rest is with the villagers, their community development projects. We have looked at cook stove, but we've concentrated a lot more on water tanks, tin roofing, solar power. So that's where we've done most of our work, really, is the community development side. We have done camera trapping and some other research, and now we're inviting university researchers to come in and look at their separate fields of study. But that was the game changer. See, once people got water tanks, tin roofing, and now solar, that helped join the dots. So the people who rely on the rainforest for their food and water had a better life now that they had water tanks and solar, and that made people change their behaviour to not hunt these animals and to value them. And it took a while. It took a good 5 to 6 years when we started to see a slight increase in the Tenkile and the Waimang populations. But that was the changer. The community development made people change their behaviour, respect their animal more and look after it and not hunt it. So that is really required, I think, in most in-situ conservation projects where there's lots of people. And indeed, you go to any rainforest area in the world, there's lots of local people who rely on the rainforest to survive. So working with them, and now we're looking more at land use planning so that people can establish eco corridors and join primary forests. So there's lots of species then can see each other again that have been separated due to village gardens and cash crops and things like that, and of course the increase of the human population. So if we're able to keep all those things in tow, which we are doing, and we now have to work more closely with the clan leaders. The clan leaders in Papua New Guinea decide on what happens to the land. They're the landowners. So in our 43 villages, we've got 284 clan leaders. And I'm about to bring them all in to Lumi for the second time. They all came in last year as well. So I'll be doing 2 weeks solid workshops with the clan leaders and our staff, 80 people at a time. And we'll be going through our management plan, land use planning, and of course what we're doing for the next couple of years with our good foundation sponsors, partners, Rainforest Trust, Hans Wildorf Foundation and Fondation Segre. And we've got a handful of zoos that also help us, Perth Zoo being one, Krefeld Zoo in Germany, Rostock Zoo in Germany as well are our main zoo funders. And of course, we're trying to get more zoos on board because, Jean and I are both zookeepers originally. And what's the saying? Once a zookeeper, always a zookeeper.
Yep.
And so, that's where our roots lie. And we certainly want to see if we can attract American zoos as well to see what we're doing and help us continue to join the dots with what we're doing here in Papua New Guinea.
if I can be of any help with that, please let me know. I do have a lot of connections, obviously through the
Right.
podcast. And do you know about the Safe Tree Kangaroo program? Have you heard of this?
Yes, I do. Yes, I have heard of that. Yeah, it's a new one, isn't it?
It is fairly new. Yeah. I'm volunteering for them. I just recently started. But Lisa Daybeck out at Woodland Park Zoo, who is very into tree kangaroos, runs the program, and it's a great program, and that might be a great opportunity to connect and get you into some U.S. zoos. So if I can help facilitate anything, please let me know. I would love to.
Definitely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. So, is it a hard transition for you when you go to a place and you're like, I'm here to work with tree kangaroos, and then suddenly you're teaching workshops to humans?
Look, it was initially, but Papua New Guineans are very friendly people. They laugh at all my jokes, so they've got me. But yeah, look, it was a hard transition because we didn't know Melanesian pidgin at the time, and it took us a good 5 or 6 months before we were fairly fluent. And now that's our main means of communication with the people. It's always in pidgin, and that sort of broke down a lot of barriers. If you speak the language and show the respect for another country and the people, then you're welcomed in more. And in 2006, my wife gave birth to our son, Taji, and Taji is a Papua New Guinea name. It means belonging to you. It's also a name of an airstrip in World War II, which is where we got the idea of. And then we found the meaning, went, oh, that's really cool. We'll stick with that. So just edit that little bit if you could, John. No, I'm joking. But raising your son here in PNG made the world of difference. So we really got welcomed into the community, and now, we're part of the community. And so much so that, we feel that we're going to continue here for many years to come. During COVID, I had a few years out. COVID was actually good for the organisation because I'd burnt out after 17 years. I needed a break. There were lots of things that were, stressing me out at the time. And that gave the opportunity for our staff to step up, pull their socks up and do things without me, because for 2 years I couldn't get back into PNG because of COVID. And many of our staff did. And we had the biggest biggest funding we've ever had, and we were able to manage that virtually. So all of our staff did what they had to do with the solar project, delivering units and streetlights to all of their villages around here. We're able to extend the program for another 103 villages, so 146 villages, about 30,000 people got lights here in the Torricellis. And all of our staff did that without me having to come into country. We just ran things virtually, like Zoom meetings like we're doing now, and went through a few workshops, online trainings and stuff like that. And our guys and girls pulled through, and easily our most successful project when we weren't there. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and a number of the people from the aid development people just said, how did you do that? And I said, well, we've been here for a long time and we've trained the people up, and the people get it and they can run with it. We just have to be on the side to, tidy up a few things here and there, and, look at a few of the cultural things that need really an expatriate presence sometimes. Yeah,
that's very cool. I love that. That had to be a little bit refreshing for you too. I think, right. To not be there and to get a break, but also to see the organization thriving in that time.
Yeah, it was. It was a recovery period as well as an enlightening period for us. And look, we tried a few other people to come in and work here. Didn't work out. It is a hard gig for PNG. Anyone coming into PNG, if they last more than 6 months, that's a good stint. Most people don't. But then I considered different things in Australia, doing conservation, but people here genuinely love us and like us and want us to be here. And in Australia, we're just sort of tolerated as conservationists. It's a very, it's a bit of a, what's the saying, a tall poppy syndrome. So it's harder to get ahead in Australia than it is in PNG. And here it's not about getting ahead, it's about getting the job done. And you can do that. There's much less red tape if you've got the people on side. And I just think it's amazing what we've been able to accomplish, water tanks, tin roofing, protecting the area with the people, GPS mapping. And now we've got over 200 staff with mobile phones with an app that we've built with a tech developer in the States, actually. And they're uploading data on at the moment, frogs, but lots of data on species we haven't seen before have been recorded by people having a mobile phone and taking a picture when they see it. And, of course, that's means a healthy competition between our staff. So we have a competition of who becomes the PAM champion, the Protected Areas Monitoring App champion. And we've got staff who've uploaded more than 1,000 surveys, and it's like, wow. And there are a lot of people who threw stones at us and said, oh, Jim, you're wasting your time. These people in PNG, they haven't got a high level of education. They're not going to be able to do this work. And they've proven everyone wrong. They've just been able to jump on these apps and technology and work things out for themselves. Again, we taught them all of this, virtually and not on the ground. And people have been able to run with it and work it out and show us a few things that we didn't know. So it's really quite an incredible story.
That is really amazing and something to be really, really proud of. Now, there are a couple different directions I want to go in, but the first one, sticking with tree roos for a second, is that, while the wild conservation work that y'all do is super important and I know is the main focus, y'all do have some tree kangaroos on site that y'all take care of, right? And human care. So can you talk about that, how that came to be, and maybe tell us about them?
Sure. So at the moment, we have 6 grizzled tree kangaroos and 1 Waimang tree kangaroo. So the grizzleds are more common. They're vulnerable. And they've got the largest distribution of any tree kangaroo. So you find them in up the north of New Guinea, right from Wewak to the Bird's Head. So it's quite a distance, and there's 2 subspecies. And up here, we've got one of the subspecies. And they get caught regularly, a few times a year. And what usually happens, John, is the mother will get killed and eaten, and the pouch young, if they've been fully weaned, will be kept as pets and sold. So we've had a couple of them handed to us over the years, and so as zookeepers, we can't former zookeepers, we can't let animals suffer. So we bring them in, and we've hand raised a number of them. And we've kept those grizzleds and we've bred them. So I think we've bred 4 of them. Some of our girls are over 20 years of age now. One of them we've got 2 boys and 4 females. And one of the boys was caught in Lumi, just down the road here, which is a first. People haven't seen them here for about 50 years. So even they are increasing in numbers as well. We're getting more reports of them. But the ones we hold presently are really our own pets. They've, as I said, some of them been bred in captivity, and we have considered putting them back in the wild, but these ones are too old for that now. We certainly would consider zoos if they put up their hand and said, hey, we were interested in grizzleds. That's something we'd like to work with TK Safe on if that's possible, something in the future down the track, because grizzleds have been kept in American zoos and Australian zoos before. I think the last one died in San Diego, 2007. So, that's a species that we could consider. And the Waimang, that came about through villagers handing us a male and a female. The male was given us in 2005, the female in 2009, from different areas of villages. At that stage, we only had the Tenkile in the program. We didn't have the Waimang villages. And once we realised they were there, some villagers gave us some as proof that they still existed. And so we took these young ones on, raised them, and they've since passed of old age, and one of their sons is still with us now, who's about 8 years of age. And we are considering, do we get another female for him? So he's got some company. And so that's what we're talking with our staff and board about at the moment, whether we find another one as they're increasing in population. So that's the story of our tree kangaroos in captivity. We've got 8 large enclosures here that we built for them. We actually got the tree kangaroo enclosures built before we got our permanent house built. So our priorities are tree kangaroo focused as much as they can be, even though most of our work is with the people, as I said previously.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
They keep me sane. I see them every day and, say hello to them. And if things are stressing me out, I just spend an hour or so in the tree kangaroo enclosures and they're able to calm me down pretty well.
Yeah, they are amazing animals. I have been fortunate enough to spend time with probably 8 or 9 different tree kangaroos, and actually spent a good bit of time with a couple of them. And they really steal your heart. They really do.
Yeah.
They're just amazing animals. So since they are like, your pets, your personal relationships, do they have names? Do they have, do you get to know them that way, or do you try and keep it a little more hands off? What do you do?
Yeah, they've got names. So the
Nice.
Waimang's name is Roy, and he was named after Roy Trivety from the United Nations, who came and visited us. And at the time, they funded us significantly for our protected area work. So when they visited, I thought, well, hey, thank you very much for the support, guys, and let's name this after the representative for PNG. So that's Roy. The others have been named after villagers who've either brought them in or have worked with them. So the grizzleds have various names: Innie, Willie. I'm trying to think of the others now. Lubai, named after the villages as well. So Lubai is a village which one of the males came from. We have had Tenkile here in the past, but they've both been put back. So we had staff catch one in 2007 and then in 2011, I think it was. No, 2009, 2011. And both of those were male and both were put back into the Torricellis. They spent about 6 weeks with us. I got to know really the personalities of the different species is quite significantly different, because the grizzled tree kangaroos have a higher metabolic rate, so they're more active. So they'll be coming to the cage to get food from you straight away in the morning. They're a little bit more interactive. They can be more aggressive, especially the males. If they don't know you and you walk into their enclosure, they can jump on your back and it hurts, man.
Wow.
Yeah. 17 kilos of a male grizzled tree kangaroo, and then the tree kangaroos will actually grab you and bite you as well. It's happened a couple of times. There's one of our visitors that happened to him. He's still got the scar on his leg, I think. So they're very active and quite interactive, and the only way you can calm them down is to give them something to eat, and then you can get closer to them. They're quite vigilant. The Waimangs, they're a lot easier going and sleep a lot more. And I think they're probably the friendliest of the three. The Tenkile, I think, is the smartest. You sort of look at that animal and they're thinking about what you're thinking. That's my interpretation anyway. And they've got these incredible red eyes that make them extremely different from all of the other tree kangaroos. It's not too many animals I've ever seen. You don't see too many animals with red eyes, and they're one of them. And of course, whenever we get images of these guys in the camera traps, that's the first giveaway of the Tenkile is, there's the red eyes of the Tenkile. Yeah.
That's really cool. I love that they have like different personalities, species to species. It's really fascinating. I am just obsessed with I just want to come visit you tomorrow and, see all of these amazing animals. That is so cool. And, one of the things that you do is that you have plushes that you sell on your site to, help support your conservation work. Can you talk about where that came from, where that idea came from, and how they came to be? Because they're pretty cool.
Yeah. So, it was my wife's, shift. We thought about, she thought about plush toys a long time ago, and then we sort of got a few quotes from the different companies to make them, and it was always sort of an idea that we had in the inbox, if you know what I mean. And then there's a lady in Port Moresby who took the initiative, and she made her own plush toy, got it made in China, and then back to Port Moresby, and that was the black-spotted cuscus, which is found up here. Beautiful animal, and the plush toy is lovely as well. And so that's what started. She did that first. Then she contacted us and said, hey, would you guys be interested in working with us? And we'll put your name on the packaging and hey, we'll make a tenkile as well. And we went, yeah, of course. So that's where it started a couple of years ago, only about 3 years ago. And the tenkile is the newest edition, I think. There's a number of animals that she has available, and all of the ones that are found up here in the Torricellis, we have on our website to purchase. So if you're keen, send us an email. Go to our website and buy online at our online store, and we'll send you a black spotted cuscus, a tenkile, a northern cassowary, or a bird of paradise. They're the 4 that we have available in our shop. We hope to get the Waimang grizzles into plush toys soon.
I need you all to do that for me. I need y'all to do that for me.
The pressure's on. The pressure's on.
It is really funny because, like I said, I do have Suno, which is the tenkile that y'all sell. And then I've got all of my friends in Australia, whenever they see a Goodfellows or a Lumholtz, have sent them to me. And I have all of the matchies that are available in the United States. So I actually have a large plush collection of tree kangaroos, a species that I did not even know existed like 6 years ago now. But that just shows just how much you just can fall in love with these incredible animals in such a short amount of time. Now, I'm curious. I've only ever gotten to, like I said, be close to and hands-on with and feed and stuff matchies tree kangaroos.
Yeah.
And one thing that I've learned, so, doing this podcast, I've met hundreds of species of animals by now. And the one thing that is the most disappointing about wild animals in general, and I love them all, but is that they're never soft. They're never as soft as they look. People ask me all the time, especially I do a lot of conservation work with red pandas and stuff, and they always say, oh, what are red pandas like when you feel them? Are they so soft? I'm like, no, they're coarse. The first time I ever touched a Matschie's tree kangaroo, I could not believe how incredibly soft that creature is. It is it's like a chinchilla almost. And there's actually, my wife was with me at the time, and she snapped a photo, and it is one of my favorite photos of me. I look so dumb, but when I touched it, I was expecting it to be coarse like every other animal that you touch. And when it was so soft, my face got so bright and my eyes got so big. And she has this picture of me and literally just going, because I just could not believe how soft it was. So I'm curious, are any of these other species really soft? I feel like grizzled might not be based on the name, but
yeah, you're right. I was about to say the Waimang is the softest. Okay. Then the tenkile, then the grizzles. Yeah.
Okay, so that's fascinating.
So your Waimang it's in the Goodfellows complex, of which the Matschie's is as well. So you got the Matschie's, the Lowland, the Goodfellows, and the Waimang are all in the Goodfellows complex, which takes me on to talk about the movement of the tree kangaroos. So you've got the long-footed group, which is your Lumholtz, your Bennetts, and your Grizzles. So the tail is much longer than the body. And those are your ancestral tree kangaroos. They're the ones to first evolve. So they're more similar to your kangaroos or your rock wallabies. The tree kangaroos evolved from rock wallabies. And so when they move on the ground, they look like a normal wallaby or kangaroo. They just hop on their hind limbs. So your Waimang, they're the next ones that seem to evolve next. And when they hop on the ground, so their tail is about the same length as their body. And so when they hop on the ground, they'll do 2 hops and then 1 pause to the ground. So 2 hops, 1 pause to the ground. And I saw that this morning. I just went, oh, there he is. There's Roy doing the typical Waimang and Goodfellow. I think the Matschie's as well, movement on the ground. And then the tenkile, it runs like a possum, so it's all on all fours.
Really?
So yeah. It's incredible. So they're the most evolved. And the tenkile's tail is shorter than its body length. So they're in the Doria's complex. And that's the 3 differences from the movements that I've seen through the grizzles, the Waimang, and the tenkile, which is really unique because each of them, they move differently on the ground. So if you say, for instance, you're in the bush and you've just got an infrared camera, then you'd be, okay, that's a grizzle, that's a Waimang, that's a tenkile, if you're lucky enough to see all 3. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fascinating. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I wonder why it is that it seems like the tenkile is like the lowest population, but also the most evolved. That seems weird to me.
Yeah, it does. It does, actually. The tree kangaroos are an outlier in mammals. So when you look at mammal population, so let's look at, say, the Australian any Australian possum. So the ringtail possums and your brushtail possums that are found down the south, say in Tasmania, they're a lot bigger and fluffier in the colder areas. And so when you get ringtail and brushtail possums up the north, they're smaller with shorter fur. So the size difference, they actually get smaller the further you go up to the equator. But it's not so for the tree kangaroos, because your grizzles are the largest and they're found right up the top. And your Lumholtz and Bennetts are the smaller ones, although the Wymings are smallest, and they're found in Queensland. So it's a reverse. You'd expect the grizzles, the big ones, to be down south and the smaller ones to be up north, but you can't pick it. That's what makes them such an interesting species, is because they are so very different from everything else. And they've evolved so differently. So the thought is from the scientists that kangaroos evolved first, then possums, and then the possums first, then they came down to the ground when the rainforest started to turn into desert in Australia. So your kangaroos evolved. They lost the use of their tail. So all possums' tails are prehensile. It's like a fifth limb, like a monkey's. But then the kangaroos lost the use of that tail, and then tree kangaroos went, oh, hang on a minute, we'll go back into the trees now. And so they go back into the trees. And your tree kangaroos, they don't have prehensile tails. They just swish the flies away. So it's really quite a different, the way these guys have evolved is just so different from everything else. And it's amazing. And you're right, yeah, the Tenkile is more of a ground-based tree kangaroo. It spends most of its time when it's active on the ground. And then during the day, when it's mostly sleeping, it's in the trees. Yeah. And what I've observed with the tree kangaroos, all of the ones here, most of the time when they need to go take a piss, when they need to go to the toilet, they'll come down to the ground and wee on the ground as opposed to in the trees, which is quite interesting. Yeah. Mm.
That is convenient. As a person who has had a red panda poop on me from in the trees, I can tell you that it's better when animals get down and pee where they can't hit you. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating. I think that is so cool. Can you describe just a little bit, for my listeners, Papua New Guinea, not exactly a place that everybody really knows a lot about, or maybe doesn't know exists outside of hearing about me talk about tree kangaroos a lot. So can you kind of describe, at least in the area where you are, is it rainforest? Is it always hot? I know I told you I was late to the interview today because of snow, and you were like, that's something I haven't seen in a long time. So yeah, tell us about it.
Okay, so New Guinea is north of Australia, and it wasn't that long ago that New Guinea was joined to Australia, about 15,000 years ago. So there's a lot of synergies between PNG and Australia. So you've got species such as tree kangaroos found in both. There are sugar gliders that are found right across New Guinea and down the east coast of Australia, around all the way down to Tasmania. And there's lots of birds that fly from New Guinea to Australia, breed in Australia, fly up here, and vice versa. So there's lots of interesting similarities. And New Guinea is all rainforest. It's all tropical rainforest. Third largest tropical rainforest after the Amazon and the Congo is the rainforests of New Guinea. And they're still largely intact. However, they are getting trashed by logging and the need for, the greed for more money from industry and government here as well. So they are all threatened at some degree. And we are surrounded by logging operations. It's quite scary, a bit intimidating. It's been took me quite a bit to get over some of the threats that I've received over the years. But hey, I'm back again, and these guys better watch out. We're just going to be here trying to do what we do, and we're getting more recognition, and there's more organisations and foundations that are actually getting it now, wanting to protect rainforests, realising how important it is to protect. And I mean, the biodiversity here is just incredible. I mean, we've got over 400 species of birds just in the Torricellis, which is over 50% of Papua New Guinea's birds. We've got the 3 species of tree kangaroos. There's all these different gliders and possums found nowhere else. And we're finding new species of frogs all of the time. And it's just such an incredible place. It is worth protecting. It is worth, spending your life and trying to, look after. And so here we are after 22 years, still strong and determined to see these tree kangaroos keep on going. And hey, it's working. We just got to get the loggers at bay, get the government to, have a bit more will, and the big organisations to fund us more as well. It's a hard gig doing conservation. It's not a guaranteed, government funded position that I have. We have to scramble for our wages every year. But, in the end of the day, it's worth it. And we both really, really enjoy what we're doing and proud of what we're doing here with the people here. Yeah.
That's very cool. So I know from my own experience that the best couples are the ones that, kind of have their own strengths and lift each other up and also have the same goals and everything. And so I'm curious, we've talked a lot about what you do, but what does your lovely wife bring to the table?
Well, it's a good 50-50. So we complement each other. We don't compete, which is good, or not much anyway. We have some shouting matches. Jean she does the accounts as well as the educational courses. So basically, I find the money, we both spend it, and she acquits it. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. But no, Jean is incredible. She does a lot of the networking, working with all of the women. So she started a project this year called the Rock Mary Project. Rock is frog in Papua New Guinea. So you think about it, rock. It's the sound of what a frog makes.
Nice.
So it's, yeah. So she started this program called the Rock Mary Program. And so we have 86 women, 2 from each of our 43 villages, all with phones, all now collecting data on frogs. And it's made the organisation more gender equal. It's got a lot of information we've got from women because the ladies here are generally pretty shy. The males dominate. It's a patriarchal system here in the Torricellis. And we found that having women with mobile phones is actually empowering them. They have a greater voice now. So they don't have a male in the background saying, "Oh, shush, don't say that." They've got a mobile phone and they're saying whatever they want. And we're seeing what they're saying and what they're thinking. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. So we're now joining the dots with the culture now that we're getting more input from the women. It's really quite amazing. And so that's what Jean does is that at the moment. That's her joy. She's also coordinating a lot of our ranger work. So the Tenkile Conservation Alliance is a member of the IRF, the International Ranger Federation. And so we're trying to get more rangers in PNG working together and, being more aware of, the plight of rangers around the world. It's not just happening in PNG, and fingers crossed it doesn't, but many rangers are killed in action in South America and Africa and other areas of the world for protecting rhinos, tigers and pandas and everything like that. And, it's imperative that we keep communicating and try and get the conservation movement growing and, getting people to realise that, hey, there's so many links between zoos, aquaria, universities and in situ conservation. And, hey, don't just listen to the big NGOs, listen to us NGOs on the ground because we're the one that's making it work. And if you don't have organisations like us, you don't have conservation. It's all very good to flag wave and get petitions and stuff like that. That's 5 to 10% of what conservation is. But the rest of it is what we do on the ground, the grunt work. And I think that's a shift that needs to change and is starting to, I think the world is starting to realise that, that's what is required. So I'm very excited with, the change of behaviour I'm seeing in other countries of the world in terms of conservation. And I hope it continues and grows exponentially because the planet's dying. The rainforests are an answer to keep us all alive. And we've got to stop mowing it down. And, if we're able to get more projects like us in different areas around the world protecting rainforests, we'll all be able to breathe by the end of the century.
Seems like a positive thing, breathing is good. Yeah. No, yeah, that's awesome. I love your take on this. I love how I love how your organization is so small, but also so big at the same time. It's so great. It's like, it's so boots on the ground. It's so awesome how you're using technology in innovative ways. And with, like you said, with people who maybe other people thought wouldn't be able to use the technology. And I love that it is having such an interesting effect on not just the animals, but the culture. And especially for those women, that's very cool. All of this is very cool. I'm a big fan. I knew I would be because we both like tree kangaroos, but I'm impressed by everything I'm hearing here, which is awesome. We are coming to the end of our time. So is there anything else that you want to share about the work that y'all are doing?
Yes. Look, please come on board, join our email list, join us on Facebook and follow us because we have regular updates. You're able to contribute. A little amount goes a long way here in PNG, and we'd love you to join our team. So please, look at our website. We've got a documentary that we put out in 2018, so it's got all the bigwigs in it. So David Attenborough, both of our patrons, Jane Goodall and Tim Flannery, are featured, and of course all of our staff and ourselves. You'll see our son grow up. There's lots of great shots of tree kangaroos being hand raised and things like that. So please jump on our website and see what we're all about.
It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show, but there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
When we first got to PNG, we were quite overweight. So I'm about 95 kilos now. 200 pounds. And I was a lot more. I was probably about 105 kilos. And here in Papua New Guinea, most of the people are half that weight. And they have pit toilets that are made from bush materials. So a big hole in the ground with some slats over that hole and a little hut over that hut. And on our first patrol, I destroyed 3 of them.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So here I am going to the pit toilet, got my pants down around my ankles, and the thing collapses and I fall in a pit full of you-know-what. Had to scramble my way out of it, and that happened 3 times in 3 days.
Oh, no.
There's my story. I thought you'd like that.
I do. And I feel like just the fact that you stuck it out to even the 4th day proves how dedicated you are to this work.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This has been such a joy for me. And I'm going to make sure I put all those links in my stories and in the show notes and everything. So hopefully we get you some new fans and some new supporters and all of that. So, yeah. Thanks so much, Jim. I appreciate you.
Great. Thanks very much, John.
Y'all, how cool was that? Oh, I love tree kangaroos so much. I don't know if y'all know that about me. It's a secret, but I'll let y'all in since you listen. But no, that was just so cool. And Jim and his wife and just their love for tree kangaroos and their willingness to be out in Papua New Guinea and change their whole lives around to take care of these animals is just, it's such a beautiful story. I love it. I just love it. There's no other way to put it. So I hope y'all enjoyed that one. I clearly did. So friendly reminder, we've got Zoo News on Friday. It's actually going to be a very special episode. You'll get to hear about something I did this week that was very cool, and I'll be sharing some stuff with y'all that I think you're going to really enjoy. So make sure you tune into that. And not a whole lot in the whole, notes situation, but I do want to take a moment to say thank you to my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, and Kevin Williams. And also just to let my patrons in general know there's a slight delay with your January stickers, as you may have been able to figure out since it's February, but they are coming. Don't you worry. And once Cappy Trails and I get this sorted out and figure out the system, it's going to be a lot smoother. So don't y'all worry about that. And I know you saw the stickers. They're gorgeous and awesome and well worth the wait. So we'll have those coming soon. With all of that said, I think the only thing I have left is to remind y'all that the word credits backwards is What is it? Oh, yeah. Steiderk.
The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.